When the doorbell rang that evening and I saw who was standing outside, I couldn't breathe. It was that woman who had kicked me out of the house 10 years ago and ruined my life. Now she was standing in front of me with tears in her eyes. But this time, the roles had completely changed. I'm Sarah. Telling this story isn't easy, but I need to. Because this isn't just my story. It's the story of what happens to people who think they're powerful, but are actually empty inside. It all started 15 years ago. I met Michael when I was in college in Chicago. Back then, I was a really hardworking student, but our financial situation wasn't good at all. My dad worked at a factory, and my mom cleaned houses. I was on a scholarship, and my dream was to have a good career. Michael, on the other hand, was from a wealthy family. His father owned a construction company, and his mother, Patricia, thought she was the queen of this city. From the moment we met, I could feel that Michael was in love with me, but I also knew his family would never accept me. And that's exactly what happened. When Michael first brought me home, Patricia looked at me like I was a mouse that had wandered into her house. But Michael insisted, "Mom, I love Sarah, and I'm going to marry her," he told her. That night, Patricia called Michael aside. I heard their conversation through the cracked door. "Son, this girl isn't right for you. She's not on our level. There are daughters from wealthy families. Meet one of them," she was saying. Michael replied, "Mom, I love Sarah. Maybe she doesn't have money, but she has a heart of gold." This argument went on for months. Patricia constantly filled Michael's head with poison, taking every opportunity to put me down. One day when I went to visit, she said to me, "Sarah, you're a sweet girl, but unfortunately you're not suitable for our family. Think about Michael's future." I told her, "Patricia, I love Michael and he loves me. We're happy and that's enough." Anger flashed in her eyes. "Who are you to talk to me with such nerve? I run this house," she yelled. But Michael was determined. After 3 years, we decided to get married. During the wedding preparations, Patricia did everything she could to break us up. Once she even told me, "I'm telling you for the last time, stay away from Michael, or you'll get yourself into trouble." I told her, "Patricia, I will never leave Michael. You better accept that." I'll never forget the rage I saw in her eyes that day, but we got married anyway. It was a small ceremony because Patricia hadn't allowed us to have a big wedding. "We don't waste our money on such things," she had said. Even on our wedding day, she didn't congratulate me. She told Michael, "I hope you don't regret this, son." She just gave me a cold look. After we got married, we started living in an apartment next to Michael's family. Patricia took every opportunity to remind me of my place. At the breakfast table, she'd say, "Sarah, these cups are very expensive. Be careful." Or when guests came, she'd introduce me saying, "This is our daughter-in-law, Sarah, from a very modest family." But the worst part was that she constantly turned Michael against me. "Son, look at what beautiful wives your friends have married. What have you done?" she'd say. Or she'd lie, saying things like, "Sarah's family asked for money again. They're always coming around here." I couldn't stand this situation, but I endured it because I loved Michael. But Patricia started going further and further. One day, when I was pregnant and Michael was on a business trip, I was alone at home with morning sickness. Patricia came over and said, "Sarah, I need to talk to you." "About what?" I said. "You need to get rid of this baby," she said in a cold voice. I was shocked. "What did you say?" "You don't fit into this family. This baby won't fit either. Get an abortion, divorce Michael. I'll give you a nice amount of money. You can go to another city," she said. At that moment, I felt such anger. "Patricia, have you lost your mind? How can I kill my own child? And I will never leave Michael, I said. Her face turned bright red. You're ruining my son and this family. People like you don't belong among us, she screamed. When Michael comes back, I'm going to talk to him. You've crossed the line, I said. But that night, Patricia told Michael a completely different story. She painted me as jealous, paranoid, and disrespectful. Son, your wife threatened me. She said, I'll get rid of you people. She's even using the baby she's carrying to blackmail me, she told him. When Michael came home, he was really angry. Sarah, what did you say to my mother? He asked. I told him the truth, but Patricia had lied so convincingly that Michael was torn. This really hurt me. The tension continued until my baby was born. When I held little Jake in my arms, I was the happiest person in the world. But Patricia was even distant with the baby. I hope he takes after me, she'd say. Months passed and Patricia kept poisoning Michael. Now Michael had also started treating me coldly. One evening he came home and said, Sarah, you constantly create problems between my mother and me. Enough. Michael, I'm not doing anything. Your mother doesn't like me and she doesn't hide it, I said. Maybe she's right. Maybe you really aren't suitable for our family, he said. Those words broke my heart. You've started thinking that way too, I said. I don't know, Sarah. I'm tired of this situation, he said. That night I understood that everything was over. Patricia had won. She had poisoned her son so much against me that now he even doubted his love for me. A few weeks later, something terrible happened. While I was nursing Jake, Patricia came up to me. Sarah, I'm giving you one last chance. Leave this house. Take the kid too. Don't ruin Michael's life, she said. This child is your grandson. Michael is my husband too. I won't leave this house, I said. Then I saw such hatred in her eyes. Then I'll make you leave by force, she said. The next day, after Michael left for work, Patricia brought 2 men with her. Sarah, pack your things. You're leaving this house, she said. This is ridiculous. I'm calling Michael, I said. Don't call him. He agreed too. He doesn't want you anymore, she said. I couldn't believe it. You're lying. If you don't believe me, look, she said, and showed me her phone. A text from Michael. Sarah, please leave. It'll be better this way. My world collapsed. Patricia had poisoned Michael so much that he didn't want me anymore. As I was leaving the house with my baby, Patricia shouted after me, Don't come near here again. Try to forget Michael too. He's not yours anymore. As I walked out the door, I turned back one last time. Patricia, you're making a huge mistake. One day you'll pay the price for this, I said. She laughed mockingly. Who are you to make me pay a price? Mind your own business, she said. That day was the hardest day of my life. I was left on the street with my baby. I went to my parents' house, but they knew our situation too and were very sad. For months I tried to contact Michael, but he wouldn't answer the phone. Patricia had completely separated him from me. But I didn't give up. I worked day and night to raise Jake. I finished college, got a good job. Years passed and I became a strong, independent woman. 10 years later, I had started my own company. I was a successful businesswoman, and Jake had become a smart, handsome boy. One evening, while Jake and I were having dinner at home, the door rang. When I opened the door and saw what was in front of me, I was shocked. Patricia. But what a state she was in. She had aged, lost weight. Her eyes had sunk. Her dress was old and torn. She had a suitcase next to her. Sarah, she said in a trembling voice, please, could you talk to me? I just stood there. This woman who had kicked me out of the house 10 years ago and ruined my life was now standing in front of me in a miserable state. "What do you want?" I said in a cold voice. Tears started rolling down her eyes. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I made huge mistakes. Please listen to me," she said. "Listen? Did you listen to me 10 years ago?" I said. "You're right. But please," she said and got on her knees. "Forgive me, Sarah. I did terrible things. Now I understand how wrong I was." I didn't let her in. I told her to wait at the door. Jake asked curiously, "Mom, who is this lady?" "Someone from the past, son. Not now," I said. To find out what had happened to Patricia, I called my old friends. What I learned shocked me. After she separated me from Michael, Patricia had married him to a rich girl. But that girl had only married him for money. A few years later, she had bankrupted Michael's company and disappeared after pulling off a huge scam. Michael had fallen into depression and started drinking. After the company went bankrupt, they lost their houses too. Patricia and Michael had ended up on the street. Worst of all, Michael had died of a heart attack 2 years ago. Patricia was left completely alone. When I went back to the door, Patricia was still sitting there. She was old, exhausted, and desperate. "Michael died," she said, crying. "And before he died, he constantly mentioned your name and Jake's. 'Mom, we made a huge mistake. We lost Sarah,' he would say." A lump formed in my throat. Learning that Michael had died affected me a lot. "Sarah, I ruined your life. I ruined my own son's life, too. That rich girl had only come for our money. After I kicked you out, Michael was never happy. He constantly missed you and Jake," she said. "Why did you do this?" "Why?" I said. "Pride. Stupid pride. I looked down on you because you came from a poor family. But you were a very valuable girl. You really loved my son. But I realized this too late," she said. "It's been 10 years. It's too late now," I said. "I know. But please, could I see my grandson Jake once? I want to see Michael's son. I have no one left," she said. This request made me think a lot. After all, she was Jake's father's mother. But what she had done... "Patricia, you kicked me out of my home. You threw me and my child onto the street. Why are you coming now asking for help?" I said. "Because I'm so sorry. Because now I understand what a good person you were. The worst thing I did to Michael was separating you from him. And now I'm paying the price for that," she said. That night I thought a lot. The anger and pain inside me were still there. But at the same time, I felt sorry for this old woman. The next day I went to find Patricia. She was sitting on a park bench. I sat next to her. "Patricia, I'm not coming to get revenge. But I want to tell you something," I said. She looked at me with hope. 10 years ago, when you kicked me out of the house, I told you that you would pay the price for this, but I didn't make you pay it. Life did," I said. "You're right, Sarah. Completely right," she said. "You want to see Jake. You can see him. But with one condition," I said. "What condition?" "You'll tell him the truth. How you separated his father from me, why he died, why you're here now. Everything," I said. "But he's so young," she said. "He's 12 years old, and he has the right to know the truth. If you want to meet your grandson, you'll tell him the truth," I said. That evening I invited Patricia to the house. Jake was surprised at first, but then he greeted her politely. Patricia told him everything. How she had kicked me out, how she had poisoned his father against me, how wrong she had been. Jake listened carefully. Then he told Patricia, "My mom is a very good person. You hurt her really bad." "I know, child. I'm so sorry," Patricia said. "What's going to happen now?" Jake asked. I answered, "Patricia is very sick and old. If you want, we can help her, but it's your decision." Jake thought about it. Then he said, "Mom, you always taught me to do good. Let's do good for her, too. At that moment, Patricia burst into tears. "You're an angel's son, Jake. Your mother raised you so well," she said. I rented a small house for Patricia. We visit her every week. She also shows great love to Jake. But she's not like before. She's much more humble and understanding. One day she told me, "Sarah, you're a much better mother than I ever was. I wish I had loved you like a daughter back then." "We can't change the past, Patricia." "But the future is in our hands," I said. This story taught me a lot of things. How wrong it is to judge people by their financial situation. How much you can lose with pride and arrogance. And most importantly, how important forgiveness is for ourselves. Patricia paid the price for what she did to me. But I didn't respond with revenge. I responded with kindness. Because living with hate is much harder than living with love. Now Jake has become a big young man. He never knew his father, but we keep his memory alive. Patricia now also acts like a real grandmother to him. Life sometimes plays weird games. The woman who had kicked me out of the house 10 years ago now survives thanks to my mercy. And I do this with pride. Because real victory isn't getting revenge. Real victory is being able to respond to evil with good. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope it has also been an inspiration in your life about forgiveness and doing good. The end. And that's how sometimes life gives us its most unexpected lessons. My former mother-in-law, who had kicked me out of the house now, spends time with her grandson every week, and I take pride in taking care of her. Because I learned that real power isn't in revenge, but in forgiveness. When you face such situations in your lives too, remember the power of love, not hate, because love always wins.